Hello, boys and girls. This week we are learning about intertidal zones. Why does this relate to what we did last week? Well, last week we talked about the different sorts of symbiotic relationships, right? So we have things like mutualism, commensalism, and parasitism, right? And how different organisms relate to each other in an ecosystem. So now we're going to talk about a specific type of ecosystem, the intertidal zone. We're going to focus just on one small little area, and this is also piggybacking on the stuff we talked about with sea star wasting disease. Okay, so we're going to build up and keep learning a little bit more about why sea stars are so important. So let's take a look at what is an intertidal zone. All right, so here we have, oops, uh-oh, what did I do? Back, no, don't do that. Ha ha ha, sorry. All right, so here we have our intertidal zone. And basically what it means is when we're close to the seashore, there are different zones where the tide falls, okay? So in the morning and in the evening, the tide rises and falls. And we have, when you go to the beach, the tide, sometimes it's really close to the parking lot, sometimes it's really far away from the parking lot, or close to a cliffside or really far away from a cliffside, right? So when we're talking about these different zones, generally, we have different organisms that usually only live in those kinds of zones. And there's a lot of things about an intertidal zone that are very harsh living quarters for certain animals. So here up in the highest high tide, in this high tide zone, we have limpets, periwinkles, barnacles, okay? All these kinds of guys, these snails, okay? And down a little bit more, okay, this is the middle tide zone where we've got little deeper water. Usually it comes in and out, but these animals here are not, or these plants and animals, excuse me, are not usually exposed for long periods of time to the dryness and to the sun, okay? So, but here's some mussels and sea lettuce and hermit crabs. They can survive exposed to air, but it's better for them to be submerged, right? And down here, okay, we have some much more complex organisms that always need to be submerged to some degree, okay? So we've got our sea stars, right? Sea cucumbers. These are our fleshy guys here. And we have a sea sponge, sea anemone, okay? Something that you should know is coral reefs do not actually survive in these tidal zones. Coral reefs need to be much further out. And you know, we can find some videos and answer that a little bit why a little bit later. So this is our introduction, okay? So we have these zones. And so let's look at what we're going to do first. First, you're going to be watching my video, okay? Step 2 is you're going to watch this video. It's called All About Intertidal Zones. And it's short, okay? It says 426, but a lot of that is credits. So it's actually less than 4 minutes long. And this video talks about what sorts of animals live in these intertidal zones, what certain ones of these zones look like, okay? Now, here's a sea star, okay? And then she talks about things like, different areas where tides pull and go into, all right? Different, this is a mangrove, okay? And these sorts of zones are very easily polluted because they don't necessarily move a lot during the day. So it's a little bit of a bummer, but it's not the main focus, okay? So you're gonna watch this video and it's gonna familiarize you a little bit more with what we're talking about here today, all right? So let's get to the work part of the assignment. So the work part, you're gonna go to this doc here, okay? It'll say copy for you guys, but it'll say video questions and species research. So this is a little bit of sort of a fun activity, in my opinion, for you guys, because you're not just doing Q&A, okay? You are doing your own research and you get to choose some stuff. So first I want you to answer these couple of questions here, okay? Some critical thinking. You have to have watched the video to be able to answer these. You can watch some other videos that you can find on YouTube on intertidal zones yourself if you're really not sure. Those could be helpful. But you want to tell me what's an intertidal zone, okay? Why might it be a dangerous place for marine life to exist, okay? So we talked about the water levels moving. Sometimes it might be dry during certain parts of the day. Once the water gets down here to this level, okay, maybe there's a higher level of salinity or salt, okay? So maybe these animals here have a much higher tolerance for salt, okay? And then the other question is, why do you think mostly shelled organisms live in high tide zones? Okay, so why are these up here? And why are these softer organisms living down here? Don't just go by what I'm telling you now, okay? Do some research or look at this picture and come up with your own sort of logical answer, okay? Try to do your best, use your critical thinking, all that jazz. All right, now the next part, you're gonna scroll down here, okay? You're going to pick, and this says 2. If you are in my honors classes, you're gonna pick 3, okay? So you're gonna do research on 3 organisms if you are honors. But if you are my other classes, then you're just gonna pick 2 species from the list below. And make sure they live in 2 different tidal zones, okay? You're gonna look at this list here and you're gonna find something like maybe isopods or sponges, okay? If you don't know what an abalone is, maybe that would be a fun thing for you to find out. We use abalone in things like jewelry and decor, okay? So abalone powder is used for certain things. Surf grass, sea urchin, okay? So you want to pick 2. And when you pick these, okay, I want a specific, okay? I'm actually going to type this now. Make sure you pick specific species, okay? Once you choose the organism. And what does that mean? That means, example, crab. Okay, let's just say you pick a crab. What kind of crab? Blue crab? Okay, king crab? All that kind of stuff, okay? You have to be specific, right? There's hundreds of different species of some of these things, okay? There's probably thousands of different species of algae, all right? And you'll know what I'm talking about in a second. So you're going to pick, say, the name of my organism, okay? The zone that my organism lives. So you want to scroll back up and find out through your internet research which zone does my organism live in, all right? Let's say I pick a hermit crab, and so then I want to say, okay, so, well, hermit crab's not on this list, but, oh yes it is, my bad. Okay, so you're gonna say hermit crab, right? And then it lives in the middle tide zone. Now tell me 3 things that it eats. Tell me 3 things that eat that hermit crab, okay? Where is its place in a food web or a food chain, okay? And then you can say, okay, my organism can stay on the surface of water only, completely underwater only, or goes in and out of the water for blank that amount of time, okay? And then you want to say, my organism stays protected from predators by doing what, okay? And the elements, all right? And then describe the location where it lives. Does it need a lot of space? Does it need a little space, okay? And you're gonna do that for both of your species or all 3 of your species. So this is a way for you to organize your research, okay? So I think for one day, this is probably enough work for you to split it up, right? So this is your first half of your work, just this file here. And then your second half of the work, just like last week where we split it up, your second half is you're going to take your research, okay, from here, you're going to take this research and you're going to summarize it on an organism information card, and you'll get a copy of this document here, okay? So you will research 2 or 3, depending if you're honors, organisms that live in the intertidal ecosystem. Your research card will summarize your research and include a picture of the organism in its environment. All right, so you need to look at food, water, shelter, and space. Okay, now here's an example. All right, and this is what I'm talking about with crabs needing to be a specific kind of crab. There are so many different kinds of crabs. So here's an Atlantic mud crab. Okay, it lives in an intertidal to subtidal zone. It eats oysters, worms, and then other kinds of crabs. Okay, so it's a medium-sized crab because it also gets eaten by blue crabs. Okay, so it's in between these 2 sizes of crabs. It's predator and prey. Okay, and then you want to tell me what are its shelter and water situations. Okay, so take a look at these. Tell me, what is its body made for? Where does it live? What kind of temperature is it used to? Okay, all that kind of stuff. You're basically taking all the information from your research and you are summarizing it here on this card. Okay, so I left these blank cards for you. Okay, you want to tell me, again, name, where does it live, what does it eat, what eats it, shelter, water considerations, and then other facts, okay? Just some other stuff that you learned. Then I want you to copy and paste a picture that you find of that species, all right? So you're going to fill those out, and that's it, okay? So if you are still watching, then you will notice that at the bottom of the assignment directions, I said there's a step 5. So for your step 5, I would like you to comment on the bottom of the page where I put the assignment. I'd like you to comment, tell me what your favorite marine animal organism is. Okay, it could be a sea star, it could be an octopus, it could be a blue whale, okay? Just so that I know that you watched this, okay? You're going to go to the classwork page, okay? And when you go onto the assignment page, you're gonna comment below what your favorite marine animal or plant, maybe you prefer coral, well, it's sort of a cross between an animal and a plant. Doesn't matter. What's your favorite thing in the marine world? Okay, it's a living thing, and that's how I know that you guys watched this. All right, small challenge, but it's because last week we had some issues with, and the week before, I think there are quite a few of you, a little less than like a third of you that are just straight up not watching these videos, and for me that makes my life harder because then when I'm correcting stuff, it just goes right back to you, and I can't, I end up having to correct the same paper a couple of times because you're just not paying attention, okay? So I know you can do this. I know that you guys are fully capable of doing the work. I just want to make sure that you're doing it the right way and that you're learning the things that I would like you to be able to get from what I'm giving you, okay? So, all right, that is all. I will see you guys on Thursday for our class discussion.